Welcome to day 134 of the 300 Movie Challenge. Today we watched the highest grossing film of July 2005, which was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Um, yeah. Well, okay, just to clear things up, um, what is our background with this? Because, okay, so I read the original book a good amount, and I saw the movie, the first one, but only like once or twice and like a while ago. So I don't remember
Um,
it that well. So I'm coming from this where most of my knowledge about all this is from the book. And again, I haven't read the book that recently, but I read it more often than I saw the other movie. So that's where I'm coming at it from.
okay.
I watched the old movie, I think, like 2 or 3 times in school, and then I saw this movie in theaters, fortunately, and like the latter half of it, like on another occasion or something, because someone was playing it in the background and stuff.
Okay. Despite being actually a big fan of Roald Dahl, I did not read this book for some reason. I guess I thought the movie was sufficient. I've seen the original movie several times, I believe, and then I also saw this adaptation in theaters with my mom because she wanted to see it too.
Yeah, I have never seen this version before. I knew about it, I knew the general opinion of it, but I'd never actually seen the movie.
I guess you should start us off, Ellen.
It's not very good. Well, okay, so
Okay, let's. Should
um,
we get into the casting first?
sure.
Or should we do that after?
Well,
Let's do that afterwards.
okay, I don't know. I was just gonna say that like
um,
during.
well, I guess I'll start.
Okay.
One thing with I felt very uncomfortable throughout the film, especially with the beginning with like so apparently the prince's name is Prince Pondicherry, which I was like Pondicherry is like an actual like place in like Tamil Nadu and everything. So it's like that was confusing. And then it said that the location of the palace was in New Delhi, and I was like, New Delhi is in North India though. Why would there be
They didn't do their homework.
No, no.
Or they did like the bare minimum of research, but like, yeah. The thing is,
Actually, Pondicherry's was like is like a French place too. Like it was like the one French outpost or something.
see, I think that was in the book, but it was like a really
I have
brief
heard that.
mention of it. Like it didn't go into it at all.
Yeah,
So it was kind of a weird thing to focus on.
yeah. So there was that, and then okay. So in the original Willy Wonka movie, they casted like a bunch of people to be the Oompa Loompas and stuff.
Yeah.
This was all
In
one
this,
dude.
yeah,
I
of which
hmm.
it still felt kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, the thing is like I kind of like as a concept I don't mind it. And like the
Hmm.
effects that they go through with it are not bad, but they just handle it just not well.
No.
There's
The
very
Oompa
like
Loompas.
there's racist undertones throughout the entire thing
Yeah.
with them and it's kind of awkward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like, isn't that kind of racist like 3 or 4 times when they were
Yeah.
doing things? Because, like, there was like the scene in the beginning where it shows like the Oompa Loompa society and how it's like supposedly like tribal and like it's coded in a very Native American kind of way. At least I felt that way.
Yeah, or I think
Because,
it's like native like South American or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah,
the
and
thing is,
then
I'm
like,
pretty sure that was in the book, but again, it was like as a concept, not like focused on and like with that sort of emphasis. They made it worse here.
yeah, because
Yeah.
back then it was a different time, and yes, a lot of people were a little bit more openly racist.
And no, it wasn't even that
Yeah.
though, because it was like mentioned that like yeah, they lived in
Yeah,
this country, like in the jungle, and they lived in kind of shitty places and that kind of stuff, and then blah, like the
it wasn't
dialogue.
expanded.
Yeah, the dialogue said in the scene, I'm pretty sure was almost word for word from the book, but it's just how it was presented and how it was shown. It was like
Right.
you
Yeah,
made this
because they
worse.
showed them with like the cocoa bean on their head and stuff and
Yeah,
everything, and it just.
yeah. I mean,
And then if you really want to get into it, there's also slavery undertones.
well,
But
yeah, but that's in all of this, so you can't really
Yeah.
comment on that with
Yeah.
this movie.
And then it doesn't help that the one like minority actor in this whole film is the guy that plays the Oompa Loompa too.
Well, though there was the shop dude who was black, who at first I thought was Samuel Jackson,
Oh yeah, that's true.
The one.
Two actors.
which would have been hilarious. Oh my god, wait, we have to talk about the actors.
yes,
For Willy. Okay,
Yes.
so apparently, let me get the list. Originally, Willy Wonka was gonna be. There were many other potentials for who Willy Wonka was gonna be, and those options are, Bill Murray, Jim Carrey, which please no, Michael Keaton, Brad Pitt, which would have been really weird.
that's weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Adam Sandler, ew, no. Will Smith,
We could have had Black Willy Wonka.
which I think just for pure absurdity of concept would have been hilarious.
we could
Yeah.
have had Black
But
Willy Wonka.
the best option, Nicolas Cage.
That makes me upset because if he was Willy Wonka, all of the awkwardness would be completely
No,
justified.
I don't. Because here's the thing, Willy Wonka in this movie doesn't work,
No.
He's such an
like at
asshole.
all.
Yeah,
there's-
he's such a weird person and
there's-
awkward and everything, and he's not like, what's the word?
Charming.
Charismatic.
Yeah, like here's the thing, they like basically messed up the two things that were good about Willy Wonka. And it was
Yeah.
that the first was that he was funny and entertaining.
Yeah.
He was a goofy dude. It was that he was goofy, but there were subtle things. There were kind of subtle, awkward, or subtle, creepy things about him.
Yeah.
This was like, no, he's just awkward and creepy, and he tries to be funny in that awkward and creepy way. Right?
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah.
they were afraid to. You had to actually like want to be with. That was the whole point. Is that here's this kind of silly dude, and that's why you're first kind of drawn to him in a sense, and then you kind of see, oh wait, there is some weird stuff with him. It's not just immediately he's a weirdo.
Yeah.
So that's the first
Oh,
problem.
wait.
The second
what?
problem, what?
I feel like Johnny Depp was trying to play Jim Carrey playing Willy Wonka.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
It does.
Damn it,
You
Jim
can
Carrey!
You can continue.
Even if you weren't in this movie, you still fucked it up. Anyway, the second problem is the mystery around him.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
the book and in the original movie, you know like nothing about this dude.
No.
Yeah, you just think he's some recluse who lives in his factory, and
Yeah, and
that
it-
was pretty much what he was.
That was one of the main reasons why there were these kind of creepy undertones, because you didn't know anything about him, even though he was a seemingly charming, funny guy. Here, they
Yeah.
try to give him this like tragic backstory, and it's just, no, you don't need this. This is completely, not only is it unnecessary, it hurts the character because it takes away this mystery about him. It just turns him into a more of a weirdo.
Like
yeah, it's kind
another-
of like what. Oh, you go, man.
It's kind of like another attempt at being like, oh yeah, here's this like weird misunderstood guy, but he has something to justify it. You don't need to justify like a weird
No,
person.
you don't
No.
need to explain everything. And
No.
It's
Willy,
kind of like.
well, I was just gonna say, Willy Wonka is like kind of the perfect character to not explain. So it's just, it's frustrating me because like on an objective level, there's really like nothing in this movie that's like terrible, right? There's nothing that's like absolutely horribly, terribly bad. But it just like missed like everything that made the story and the first movie good. It
Right.
like all of its changes it made were for the worst. Well, okay, there's like one thing that I can see is kind of quote unquote better, but it's so minor, which what I would say that like the fact that they made the songs like different like styles of music is kind of neat. Like as a concept, it's like, oh, okay, it's something different.
As a concept.
But again, that's so minor, right? That's not
Yeah.
important at all. And yeah, and so it's just like They just took away because again, I get it. There's changes between movie. If you're gonna make the exact same thing, then why even make it, right? But because the first movie made changes from the book, right? The whole tunnel scene thing in that first movie, like they did go through a tunnel, but that the infamous part about that didn't happen. That was in the movie. The whole thing about them stealing the fizzy lifting drinks and, oh, you stole the fizzy lifting drinks, you lose, good day, sir. That was just in the movie.
Right, yeah.
There was this whole kind of weird subplot, which honestly was not that great in the original movie, about how Slugworth was like trying to convince Charlie to get himself. So like that was added, and that was so they made changes. And again, like I don't think all those changes were good. Again, the whole thing with Slugworth was kind of unnecessary. But here, like, if anything, if you want to go just by like plot, they were actually arguably closer to the book. It's just that what they added was they just changed things for no reason, or they added this like extra backstory to Willy Wonka, which was just actively hurt the story.
Yeah.
So actually, okay, though I did make it. There's one thing again in concept that I actually kind of like is how they did some of the changes with the other kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like how they made.
I liked that.
Like how Violet's, because again, like the whole thing with Violet was that she like had a bunch of gum. Like, who cares? That's lame. So they made it so it's like about like a competition, and that's like okay. And then how Mike TV's like about video games and stuff. It's like okay. So it's that again as a concept that's fine, but. And again, I haven't seen this visual movie in a long time, and I haven't read the book in a long time, but I feel like... Were the kids this outright completely annoyingly nasty?
I don't
Were they?
remember that
in
being
the-
so.
First movie, I feel like it was more understandable. I don't even think Veruca was that bad. Like, she was a brat, and she was very spoiled. But I guess, like, the thing is that in the first movie, it wasn't shoved into your face
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
That's the thing. It was more subtle, because, like, Veruca was like, oh, I want this. They cut the best song from the first movie, but, like, she would do kind of subtle things, and then, I remember the scene with Mike TV was a bit different in the original as well, and then his mom had come instead of his father. But
Yeah.
I do feel like they were a little bit more subtle. They kind of faded more into the background, but I think that was fine because you're supposed to be focusing on like the relationship between Charlie and Willy Wonka, or just Willy Wonka, really.
Oh, and speaking of Charlie, he's so...
Jesus, child.
Yeah, he's so nothing. Because that's the thing. Because all the other kids fuck up, he just does nothing, and then everyone treats him like he's amazing.
Yeah.
It's just like he's so boring. Like he doesn't do anything. It's just he has like no personality. It's just
Well,
whatever.
the only personality trait that he has is that he's a good person.
That's not
which
a personality trait though.
it's not a personality trait, but that's like legitimately all they gave him. It's like, okay, what is the good thing to do in this scenario? Okay,
Yeah.
split up all your chocolate. It's like, okay,
That's not what a normal child his age would do, though.
no.
Yeah, and he
Like,
didn't-
even if I was poor as hell, I would probably take half the bar and be like, okay, the rest of you can share the rest. That's just how kids are.
yeah.
It's not even just that. It's just like all his decisions. It's like the exact perfect good like choice to make and stuff.
Yeah, it's like, okay, like, we were talking about this, like, near the end, where, they changed the ending a little bit, which is, like, in the original one, you know that he accepts, yeah, I'll take the chocolate factory, my family can live here, right? And Willy Wonka's like, yeah, that's great, you can bring your fam, that's fine. But because of the stupid subplot with Willy Wonka's daddy issues, we have this stupid-ass scene where Charlie's like, no, I'm not going to take the chocolate factory because my family's not allowed there. Because I love my family so much. And then I'm just like, go sacrifice yourself for our sins. Because you are no longer
The cross
Charlie.
is right there.
You are no longer Charlie anymore.
They put it up in February of last year. It's still there. You can go to.
Oh my god.
So then that's kind of, if there's one thing you can't do to the story is you can't have Charlie decline. They kept adding these like moments where it was supposed to be tense, like they made it so that he got the ticket on the third try instead of the first try or the second try, I'm not sure anymore. We were talking about this too. But I mean, why?
Yeah, like
would
that's
you do this?
that's
I
the
mean,
thing.
okay, wait. The thing that I was going to say before was that if you noticed with Tim Burton movies, whenever he does these remake things, he used to have a tendency to add unnecessary things.
Yeah,
Right.
unfortunately,
Point
we're not.
proven
Yeah, I
with
guess so.
Alice in the Looking Glass.
Ooh.
It had nothing to do with the fact that the Mad Hatter lost his parents and family and stuff, and that it had nothing to do with that. But
Yeah,
what was
it's-
the plot centered on? His missing parents, and then the red
Red
queen.
Queen.
Yeah, then the Red Queen. She wasn't just inherently crazy. No, her sister lied saying that she stole a cupcake, something like that, some food item, and then she ran, and then she bumped her head, and she had a humongous head, and then everyone made fun of her, and then that's why she's evil.
No, because here's the thing. Like, I can understand. It's a fucking fantasy, right? And I
Yeah.
know that people have to be people, right? Like, you shouldn't just
Yeah.
throw all characterization to the wind because it's for kids or it's a fantasy or whatever. But you don't need
Yeah.
to give a reason for every single action every single character takes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
They
yeah.
should stick within that personality. So, for example, it wouldn't make any sense if I don't know. The character can't just do whatever, but you don't need to give this tragic backstory as to why someone's evil or crazy or anything. It's like you don't need to do that. It's okay. Even in like not realistic movies, you don't have to give like super deep explanations for a lot of this stuff. And especially I don't know, because I feel like I'm kind of getting into, especially for realistic, because I'm thinking of some movies that I like, and there are things that are explained in certain ways, but
I feel
it's not like
how
it's not like
they
you're creating new parts of the story just to explain something you don't need to explain,
Right.
Yeah.
right? I think that's the main issue in this case. It's
I
like if it
think
comes
that-
along, then fine, but if you just have to make up extra stuff, then why bother?
I think another thing with it too is that if you're creating a character and stuff and you want to like show different parts of like why they make certain decisions, okay, that's fine. But then when it's like a character that's people know about, because everyone knows how Willy Wonka is.
Mhm.
I mean, you guys explained it before too about how his like charismatic nature and the fact that he's funny was how everyone remembered him to be.
Mhm.
So, to give an explanation with that doesn't necessarily go along with what you imagine. Much like when you imagine the Red Queen, you just imagine her as being crazy and wanting to paint all her roses red.
Right.
Red paint. You
So it
don't
has-
think, oh, boo-hoo, she got ratted
Yeah.
out for not eating a cupcake.
Like-
So I guess it's kind of like it's almost like Tim Burton's playing with the canon, you know?
Yeah.
Because we have this certain perception of this like certain character, and they're like ubiquitous enough in our society that most people know what these people are like. Like the Mad Hatter is supposed to be like, oh, off Looney Tunes, like off the wall. The Red Queen like chops people's heads off and paints the roses with their blood or something, and like Willy Wonka is like, you know, a pretty chill, interesting dude. So you don't need to like add to that canon.
Well, hold on, because I know that I'm thinking ahead here, because there is a movie much later on where if somebody in the comments is gonna be like, oh, you're being a hypocrite when I'm talking about this future movie, so I think people do have a problem in like, oh, you're doing this character different, you're adding on to something that like I think you wouldn't do or something, that means you're ruining the original or something like that. You're ruining what the character stood for. And I would say that's different because you like, you can think of it this way. Because this Willy Wonka didn't work, I don't think that therefore the other one didn't either. Or like, you ruined Willy Wonka as a character, like, period.
Yeah,
You know what I
of
mean? It's
course.
like, well, no. I think I view them as like separate characters, and the one from the
Right.
original movie is great, and the one from this movie is bad, and like that's
Yeah.
how it is. If like, look, for example, what if this one was good, okay, and they just played him a little differently, and they, you know, again, I don't know how they would do it, but let's just say, you know, let's say the attitude was a bit different, and maybe there was a little bit of a backstory to it or whatever that they just didn't like really go into and waste time with the movie. Like, for example, what if the whole thing about like the dad wasn't there, but like every time someone mentioned a family, he kind of was like got like kind of like lost in his head or whatever like that, but they never actually went into what he was thinking about.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
that would have been.
So like that would have been at least, I think, more interesting. Maybe, okay, I'm just spitballing here. So
Yeah.
you can say that. So I would say, and again, maybe if you didn't like that, you still wouldn't say that therefore ruins Willy Wonka, right?
No.
So I
yeah.
want to make a clear distinction there because I know I'm thinking way in advance here, but I know that's going to come up for something again, so I just want to make that clear. But okay, getting back to the whole thing about like creating unnecessary backstories or whatever. Here's my great example that I was trying to think of something that was like ubiquitous that most people would understand. Palpatine. There wasn't a tragic reason as to why he was evil. And he was like the best part of the prequels. Okay? So
Yeah.
that was a great, you know, you didn't, for example, why, okay, Sauron from Lord of the Rings, why is he evil? I don't know, like, you know what I mean? I mean, maybe there's some...
Saruman for that matter. who
Yeah,
we
they
saw
don't
in
really
this
explain
movie.
that either, you know? And cause
I mean,
it's...
from like the little that we saw of Voldemort's backstory, you also don't really understand how or why he became evil either.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think of a bunch of other reasons. And again, sometimes it's fine. For example, I'm thinking Guzma from Pokemon Sun and Moon. He has a reason actually for being why he is, and that actually works because it's not like an extra thing shoved in your face that blocks things out of the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that you can discover on your own. It's kind of
Yeah.
optional, even.
Yeah,
if you just don't talk to people in
Yeah.
the game.
I mean, even Lustamine, you can kind of argue, is kind of like that too in a case. Although she's more, again, that's very much like something that's subtle that you kind of have to dig out yourself, and even then, it's more so a theory than a concrete thing. But anyway, so yeah, it's because I don't want it to make it seem like, oh, you explained a character that means it's bad. It's like, well, no, but it's just if it's not needed, you don't need it.
Yeah,
That's
I guess
the simple
I'll
part, basically.
I'll backtrack a little bit. I'm saying this, I guess, mostly in the context of a Tim Burton movie because
That's-
he
yeah,
has
that's-
never, never,
We're both talking
Ever.
about this
he
just
has never
purely.
done this well for any of the characters that he's handled that have been established. There are a lot of interpretations of characters that work, and they're like different and stuff, and that's fine. I'm talking more in the realm of a Tim Burton movie.
Yeah, actually,
Yeah,
let me look at
that's for
what
both
he's-
of us.
Let me look
Yeah.
at what he has made. What?
We know the Alice movies, this movie. Did he remake another one?
I'm looking. Hold on.
The only other movie that I can think of that he did was wait, didn't he do a Superman or Batman movie?
Yeah, he did the original 2 Batman movies in the late
I heard
80s,
those
early
were-
90s. Yeah, but
I heard
those are
were fine.
yeah, those are pretty good. But they weren't. I wouldn't say those are like really remakes, though.
That's
It's
Right,
kind of different,
because
you know.
Superheroes, you can kind of do whatever you want with them.
Okay.
There is no canon.
So
I'm probably gonna
there's
get a lot of
this.
shit for that.
Oh my god, the 2001 Planet of the Apes movie, which was horrible.
yeah.
Yeah, Alice in Wonderland. Something we'll be seeing much later, actually. So I'm not
Oh.
gonna say what it is.
I guess tell us later.
Yeah. Oh, he worked on 9. I didn't know that. Okay. Not for director. What is that role? I'm looking at this table here. Producer. Okay. 9 is a good underrated movie. Go see 9.
Instead of
It has
this.
nothing to do with Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but go see it anyway. Apparently he somehow worked on Men in Black 3. Or he was in Men in Black 3 as an actor?
What?
Apparently.
Oh.
In other words, guys, when me and Bayan were talking before, yeah,
Yeah.
We were
If
talking
you need-
about.
Tim Burton movies, and as Fallon mentioned, which we also agree with and stuff.
So, yeah, it's just... Just, if you want to... Just go see the first one. Just
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah.
I don't think the first one is, like, you know, a flawless movie. I think there's some issues with it, because some of the odd things they
Oh,
added
yeah.
and some stuff, but it's definitely way better than this.
Yeah.
This just changed things for no reason and made it worse. So
I guess here's how to put it. If you want to actually see Willy Wonka as Willy Wonka, go see the first
well,
one.
yeah, that's the other problem though. Is that
Yeah.
the dude who what was is it Gene Roddenberry? Is that the dude's name?
Gene Wilder.
Wilder. That was who it is. I don't remember who's that. Isn't that the dude from Star Trek? Whatever. Anyway, I don't know. His image of Willy Wonka is like ingrained in like our culture. So it's
Yeah.
like it's someone else doing it. Like even if he did it okay, it would just be like automatically like, but you're not him. You know what I mean? It doesn't
See,
work.
this is why we needed Black Willy Wonka.
So it could be so ridiculous. It's like you don't even try to compare it.
Yeah, like you could be rapping all the songs.
Oh my god. Okay, no, that sounds terrible. Don't even go there.
It would be different.
Yeah, I
This
mean,
is why you're not a producer.
Yeah, I know, right?
it is interesting though because people do latch on to these like interpretations of characters that is like this is the quintessential version of a character, and
Yeah.
I think that there are some problems with that because it kind of I get kind of what I said earlier is it limits people to think like, oh, you're ruining this character when like you really shouldn't
Yeah.
think that way. But
Yeah.
this is not a good example of that. He's just
No.
bad here. So yeah.
Just forget that this movie exists.
Yeah, pretty
Go
much.
read the book instead.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of the book, there was a sequel that I don't
yeah,
Oh
believe
yeah, there was,
was
a
ever
sequel.
made into a movie, and the sequel was fucking weird. They like went into space, and like there
What?
were these like potato-looking things, like tried to eat them. It was weird, and like
Oh my god.
I think Grandma Georgina like aged in reverse. It was fucking crazy. So,
I think Roald Dahl had a bit of a trip there.
yeah, no, I remember it was so weird, and it's like, I kind of wish that was made into a movie because that would have been like just so bizarre. It would have been weird, but I want to look into that more because I don't.
Actually, you know what? That movie would have been more up Tim Burton's alley. He
Yeah.
should have
Yeah.
done the glass elevator instead.
Yeah, no, he should have actually. Yeah, I'm checking now, and oh, apparently there was actually an unfinished sequel to that.
Oh.
Interesting.
How?
Okay.
What would have happened in it?
I don't know.
Day-to-day life at the factory?
No, it says. Well, the title is apparently Charlie in the White House. What?
Oh.
They do a crossover with To the Lighthouse.
No, the White House.
The
Oh.
White House?
Yes.
He becomes the president.
Oh, it says he only wrote the first chapter.
Oh.
Oh, okay, this actually corresponds to what happens in the second book. Oh yeah, the
Oh.
president was in the second book. I'm like remembering all this shit. Anyway, we need to stop talking about this.
Fallon, you're gonna have a fun time editing.
Oh, whatever. It's just a random barf of consciousness. Anyway. So, next up is... Oh, fuck. I know what's next.
What is it again?
It's this.
Oh, shit.
Oh.
Oh,
Just by the
fuck.
title, I had... It,
I'm
Well,
not-
it was
look,
nice. It, was nice knowing you
it
guys.
somehow has a decently high score on Metacritic, but just by title and concept, this could sound like it's going to be very painful.
It was nice knowing you guys.
Remember,
Goodbye.
kids. I don't know. Bye.